Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch Harlan, and welcome to the Truth Talks podcast. Today's episode is one that I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you right now. This is Roberto Monaco. How are you, Roberto?
What's up, Dr. Mitch? I'm so grateful to be here with you today.
Well, we've gotten to lecture together. I've seen you the real deal, but I'm gonna read a little bit about you so that our viewers know who it is that we're talking to today. Roberto Monaco has been a full-time speaker, coach, and trainer since 2002. He's conducted over 4,000 presentations for corporate America. Worked for the Anthony Robbins companies for 6 years, and in 04, 05, 06, and in 07 was the top producer and revenue generator in the country. That's powerful. Now, I will tell you this today. There are still people that I talk to that I mention the word Tony Robbins and they don't know him. And I'm like, I don't know how you don't know Tony Robbins, but that's a problem. You need to get familiar with Tony Robbins. But that's as big as it gets in this industry. And you were the top producer there. So as if we're doing a trial here, you are an expert in motivational speaking and influencing people. So I want to kind of jump into this a little bit. I have gotten to see you speak a few times. I've lectured with you, Focus Foundation being one of them. I love your energy. I love the passion. But now I want to introduce people to the real you. So if you could, tell us a little bit of your story of how you became Roberto Monaco.
So some of you may recognize I have a little accent and it's from New York. No, people ask me, where is your accent from? I'm like, from the South, like way South. So I grew up in Brazil and I got a BA in finance. And I started working at Banco do Brasil when I was very young. So as 15 years old, I was carrying paper around the bank. And when I was 25 years old, 10 years into the bank, when I got my diploma, I asked one question. And the question that I asked changed my life. The question was, if I spend the next 20 years in a bank, do I want to be the president of the bank? Because that's the highest I can go. And I get a gut feeling immediately, no. By the way, Dr. Mitch, now I'm 51. I would be retired right now, literally retired. All right? So I'm like, I'm quitting. And everybody thought I was crazy. And that's when I quit, I say, I'm going to travel. So I went to a couple months to England to learn English. Then I came to America. And growing up in Brazil, I always admire soccer players and singers. And I used to tell my mom, one day I want to be like them. And my mom used to tell me, you can't play soccer and you can't sing. What do you mean? And I'm like, no. What I mean by that is that I want to have that feeling that I know I'm supposed to be doing. Now, I didn't recognize, but I was talking about purpose. And then I went to this journey to figure out what was my purpose. And I remember going to a seminar in San Diego, California. And the last day, they say, write a goal that you have. And I get a piece of paper, said, I want to work for Tony Robbins. Why? At the time, because I had read the book of Tony Robbins. I love it. But once I made a decision, Dr. Mitch, until I actually got a job, took me 6 years because fear held me back. So if anybody here, if you have a goal, if you have a dream, and you want to make things happen at the highest level possible, and you have fear kind of like preventing you from taking action and going forward, I can relate. As a matter of fact, fear cost me almost 6 years of my life because of inaction. And eventually, I decided to step up. I met someone who introduced me to the VP of sales for the Tony Robbins companies. And I remember going to this interview with a zero speak experience. And a guy sit down and say, hey, I have a job for one speaker. They call field sales rep. Basically, the job was to doing around 400 talks a year promoting Tony Robbins events. And so it's a speaking job, and I had zero experience. And the guy said, look, we have one spot. You seem to be a nice guy, but you have no experience and you have a thick accent. And I looked at him and said, look, I am not going to be your best speaker because English is my third language. I will be your number one guy because I'm going to outwork anybody. And I said so much certainty, and the guy goes, okay, I give a job. And that's when I start my career as a quote unquote speaker. And in the beginning, I was terrible at my job. So basically imagine if you got to go to a company, do a talk for 45 minutes and sell tickets for Tony Robbins events. And I didn't understand this whole idea about there's a difference between speaking and influencing. I thought it was the same, and it's not. In the beginning, I really struggled. Then eventually I got mentors, and I went from the last, the bottom of the sales team until then I became the number one guy while I was there. And then eventually I started training other speakers for Tony, and I did that for a couple of years. It was amazing. And then 2008, I left, opened up a company called InflenceOlogy now that I have with my business partner. And since then, I have helped over 40 industries, professionals to tell the story so that they can help more people. So I'm super passionate about it, because when it comes to the art of speaking, communicating, and storytelling, everybody has a story. And sometimes you don't realize that story, the leading story, is one of the things that's going to make you stand out from the marketplace. And your story is the foundation for your movement. So that's what I do today. And today I celebrate my 20th year in the speaking, training, coaching business.
So as I was doing my research on you, there's something you said in a talk. I don't really know where it was at, but it doesn't matter. It says, if you don't share your story, your true story, then the world will create one for you.
Yeah.
I thought that was powerful. Tell us what you mean by that.
What I mean by that is that right now, regardless of your industry, there's people in your area, in your marketplace, that they have a problem. They're looking for a solution that you can provide. They're willing to pay for the solution, but they don't know you exist. They don't exist. And because not knowing that this person, they don't exist, for them is some type of judgment. If you think about it, if you say, hey, Dr. Mitchell, if you tell your buddy, hey, do you know Roberto Monaco? And they'd be like, oh, the speaking coach, storytelling coach. And your buddy goes, no, never heard about it. Right? Now, if that person never heard about it, if they never heard about me, therefore, maybe I'm not that good. Because if I were good, guess what? Everybody would have heard about it. So that is the mindset that someone doesn't know you, they already have a judgment. They already have it. It's not like if I speak, a lot of people say, well, if I tell my story, if I put myself out there, people are going to judge me. That's the mindset. And I tell them, they're already judging you. They already are. Why? You don't exist. You don't exist. And that flips their mindset of like, yeah, if you don't share your story, the marketplace will create one about you. That means like, by you not telling the story, they already create a story. That person, this company is not that good. Why? Because if they were really good, I already have heard about him. And then every single day, I wake up inspired to tell my story and our company's story and our clients' stories so that people know about us and how we can help. So that's the mindset.
Okay, so now I'm going to spin this a little bit differently, right? So again, we're just going to challenge you all day here. So I'm in trial. I'm doing an expert witness in trial. It was an injury case, and in trial, there are certain things we can't say. We can't say that person's being represented by an insurance company. We can't say that this person had a prior DUI. We can't say these things. They get taken out of the trial process, if you will. And every time I'm sitting in that stand, I'm thinking, I'm sworn in to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, but yet the whole truth can't come out. How important is it to tell your whole truth if you're going to influence people?
Okay, so so you define the context. You define the context of court, right? So I want to talk about the context of life in general and speaking. I'm gonna go above the context here. I think is extremely important, because that's how a lot of people, they always lead with the best side and they try to hide the other side. And then they never, quote unquote, show any vulnerability. They never relate in a human connection level. And therefore, they don't maximize influence. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying that you should meet up someone for the first time and open up your closet and talk about all the bad things that happened to you. That is not what I'm saying. Because context shapes communication. Because I always go back to the context, right? So you gave me the context of court. I'm like, well, maybe you cannot say, because the law says you cannot say. But if you go in the context of life and business, you can talk about it. So what I found is that sometimes when something bad happened to you, and I have a couple of examples that hopefully I'll be able to share here today, that for 2 years, something bad happened in my career, and I didn't tell anybody. The only people that knew about it was my wife, my business partner, and the audience was in Mexico City. That happens in Mexico City. And took me 2 years to have the courage to be able to use that event and tell the truth and tell the story. By the way, when I did it, now becomes one of the most inspiring stories that I share. People absolutely love it. And they remember and they say, thank you so much for sharing, but I wasn't ready. And it's okay. It's okay to not be ready to tell the story. It's okay, because sometimes you have to process. Sometimes you gotta find the meaning, the lesson behind it. It's totally okay. It's totally okay. So I feel that as an influencer, as a leader, as a business owner, as a communicator, yes, you wanna tell the truth, and yes, you wanna be able to tell not only the good side, but being able to talk about the failures, the things that you struggle. Because if you don't, people are gonna search for anyway.
A guy at your level, which you're at the top of your game, you're at the pinnacle of this level. So when people hire you, I mean, you can read all the reviews. Everybody gets this amazing thing out of Roberto Monaco. And I noticed that the very first time I met you and I heard you speak the first time, I'm like, oh shit, I don't have to follow that guy, right? and so, but the question I always have for people like you, who is it that you follow? Who influences you?
Perfect. So the biggest influence in my life is my mom. Why? Because she taught me about love. And if there's one core emotion that I always go through, my default is love. And one of my rituals that I do before I speak, and then, over 4,000 talks, I go in a corner in the room, I close my eyes, I bring these memories, loving memories with my mom, with my wife, my kids. And when I feel my body with this energy, with love, truly, because whatever you think, you focus on, I start looking at the audience and I go like this: I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Now there's 1,000 people in the room, I do really fast. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like if there's 100, I go, I love you, I love you. Now they don't even notice that I'm doing it. And then I feel like I feel the room, because I think love is one of the strongest forces. My framework that I break my day, I call the 3 M's. Number 1, the messenger, me. How I'm going to improve today. Where I'm going to go to get influence. So I go to the Bible. I read the Bible, trying to get, I want to become a better person. So there's a lot of lessons in the Bible. So I start there, the messenger. Right? Then number 2, I always study to become more effective with my message. So I love reading. And then the 3rd M is marketing, because I feel like any business, any organization, you gotta master marketing. So there's a lot of marketing people that I follow, that I'm always reading about marketing too, to become a better marketer. So in my framework, it's like messenger, Roberto, I gotta get better today. I gotta get better. Perfect. What's the 2nd framework? Message, how I'm gonna communicate to people. I'm gonna communicate one-on-one, video, speaking, groups, webinars. And the 3rd M, marketing, is how I'm gonna get myself and my message to as many people as possible. So that's my framework that I go through.
That's why I love talking to you guys like this. And I know that this isn't that rah type of podcast where we're just got full of energy, but you're just throwing out so many diamonds, so many nuggets for people to get. And we love to change lives here. And I think if you just listen to the message and you hear it, you're going to change. unless you've been through a divorce, it's kind of hard to relate to somebody who has. Unless you've experienced loss, it's hard to relate to somebody who has. But out of 4,000 presentations, one of the things that we had talked about before, is there a couple stories that absolutely stick out in your mind?
Yes.
Can you share those with us?
Yeah, I'm going to share one. It's my favorite one. I'm going to share my favorite one. And I usually share in a very safe environment. You're very trustworthy and safe. You create a feeling of safety here. So I want to share. I think if I look back on my 4,000 talks plus my career, 20 years, I want to share with you one of my probably the biggest lessons that I learned. When I was in 2008, I left Tony Robbins to open up my company, InflenceOlogy. And at the same time, the VP of sales for the Anthony Robbins companies, his name was Gene, very important name to remember. And he left to open up a company with Chet Holmes. I don't know if you know the name Chet Holmes, familiar. But Chet Holmes was to be, he passed away, unfortunately, but he was a New York Times bestselling author, the Ultimate Sales Machine, amazing trainer. And Gene left to open up a consulting division for Chet. I left to open up my business, InflenceOlogy. So 6 months later, it was Sunday evening. Gene calls me up and says, "Hey man, what's going on?" And I'm telling you about my business. And he said this, he said, "Look, in 2 weeks from now, me and Chet are going to Mexico City to do a 2-day event for the largest construction company in Mexico City, the second largest on the planet. They're massive." To say, "Good for you." And he goes, "Chet's going to be speaking for 2 days, 8 hours a day from the stage in front of 600 people. I'm like, "Good for him." And he said, "I need someone who can simultaneously translate into Spanish and is dynamic and is really good." And I was thinking about you. Now, Roberto Monaco from where? From Brazil. And Brazil speak what? Portuguese. Now, I want to be clear here. I studied Spanish in high school. Hola, una cerveza, ¿cómo está, por favor? Right? So I said to him, "You know, Gene, I can help. I'm going to give you my price. Won't be cheap. I'll be able to do it." Right? So I gave my price. That was a Sunday evening. A week passed by, nothing. I'm like, well, maybe he forgot about it. Next Sunday, 7 o'clock, 2 weeks from the first call. Never forget, it was 7 o'clock on Sunday PM, calls me up and say, "Hey, big boy, I closed the deal. Are you ready? Not this Thursday, next Thursday. You and I and Chet are going to Mexico City. You're going to be speaking in Spanish in front of 600 people for 2 days. Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm ready." I hang up the phone. My heart starts pounding because it has been like 20 years that I never spoke Spanish again. I mean, literally 20 years. So I literally go online on Google and go Spanish class intensive, start searching, and like a maniac, start calling people. Sunday evening, obviously nobody picked up the phone. After 15 calls, someone answered their cell phone. I was living in San Diego, and I said this, I said, "I want to hire you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, next week, 4 hours a day. Here's my credit card." The lady goes, "Okay." Monday morning, I woke up. I removed any appointment from my calendar. I went to Barnes & Noble, and I tried to buy any audiobook in Spanish. Right? And the only thing they had was Joel Osteen translating Spanish. And I'm like, okay. So now, Dr. Mitch, I was in this immersion because I have to learn Spanish. I knew the foundation. And I go 4 hours a day. They send me 500 slides, literally 500 slides. And now I'm presenting to my teacher. She's correcting me. Now, I want to be clear here. I wasn't trying to learn Russian in 2 weeks. Right? I had a really strong foundation. So she's correcting me. I'm doing my thing 4 hours a day. In the evening, I rehearse by myself. And then I had these rehearsals with Chet Holmes. We get together in conference calls. He says something in English. I say something in Spanish. He goes, "How are you doing, Roberto?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm doing amazing." Right? So I go to this super intensive program. Thursday, we leave from San Diego, arrive in Mexico City. Then you have 2 limos, security, came to keep us safe, pick us up, goes to like this amazing hotel, have dinner. Next day, Friday, the day of the event. So imagine like in Mexico City, everybody dressed up, 600 people tied up. I met on tie and suit. I met the owner of the company, billionaire. And we go to this room, beautiful room, 2 big screens, PowerPoint screens. One, chat in English. And now I'm the translator. I'm gonna do this in Spanish. So we start the talk. Chat start doing his thing in English, and I'm gonna start translating. By the way, this is after I left Tony Robbins, so I had speaking experience. Right? So I'm doing my thing in Spanish. Then all of a sudden, Chat Holmes, he goes into his personal story, right? Which we never worked on, and they're not on slides. And in English, there's something called Spanglish, right? Which is half Espanol, half English. We have also another word called Portuñol, which means half Portuguese, half Espanol, when you mix Portuguese and Spanish. And I started doing my Portuñol in Dr. Mitch. 600 people went like this. The faces kind of like confused. And I saw this lady walking from the back of the room, pissed off, walking towards me, marching. Chat has no clue what's going on. He's still speaking. And she paused, she goes like this. She pointed to me and said, hey, come here. I'm like, what? She goes, we have to remove you from the stage right now. And I'm like, right now? Dude, it's the minute of talk. He goes, yeah, right now. I'm like, why? And she said, because people cannot understand your Spanish accent. So they literally paused the event. Chat's like, what's going on? They removed me from the stage. They put him in this chair in the corner. I had 600 people look at me. And I felt one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Here I was, after 6 years, Tony Robbins, after thousands of talks, I already had my company. I was already coaching people and speaking, and literally in front of 600 people, they kicked me off from the stage. And now I became the clown. Lunch by myself, dinner by myself. I go to my room. I'm feeling bad. They trust me, right? Gene, the guy who hired me, Chat, trusts me. I really thought in my heart I could do it. And I'm like, man, I feel bad. I was lucky. I was super lucky because this company was so big. They had a full-time translator and staff. And the lady just jumped in and started ripping. Amazing. So it was like around 10 o'clock in the evening. I'm in a hotel room. Like, really, yeah, I hate that I did that, but the worst case is like, man, I felt really bad for Gene and Chat. Then my phone ring. My room, I pick it up. It was Gene, the guy who hired me. And he said, hey man, how are you doing? And I said, hey Gene, I'm sorry, buddy. I messed up, man. I own it. It's my fault. I let you down. I let Chat down. And he said, no, I understand, bro. I know you for many years. I know you believe you could do it. But I have a favor to ask you. And I'm like, what is that? He said, tomorrow, day 2 of the event, I'm supposed to do a 2-hour presentation class on presentation skills. How about this? You do a 2-hour class in English for the same people. I'll have someone translate you in Spanish. By the way, it's not part of your contract. You're not going to get paid for it. I'm just going to ask you for that. And at that time, Dr. Mitchell, I remember me sitting in the chair, feeling sorry for myself. And I told myself, I am not going to go back home feeling like that. Because in life, either you own you, right? You own your results, or your results own you. It's that simple. Either your results own you, or you own your results. And when I was sitting there, the results were owning me. I was feeling sorry for myself. And I said, Gene, I would love to do it. And I never forget, I started practicing. I built up a 2-hour talk. It was from 10 until 1 in the morning. I prepared. Next day, day 2. And it was funny because they introduced me And I wish you could see the faces of the audience. They're thinking, this guy again is going to speak? Because they didn't know I was going to speak in English and have it be translated. So I do my talk. By the time I was done, I got a standing ovation. The same people who saw me on Friday being kicked out of the stage, on Saturday stood up and gave me a standing ovation. And the only reason I say that here, because in life you are going to fail. I wish you didn't, but we're going to fail. But if you come from purpose, if you come from love, if you come from authenticity, right, those failures you have to embrace is worth it, because it's a chance for us to change lives. So I came back from that weekend. I came back to San Diego from Mexico City for 2 years. I didn't have the courage to tell the story. 2 years. It took me 2 years. Because the results, the failure, they were owning me. Being kicked out from the stage, they were owning me. Wasn't until I changed it, I was able to overcome, and now I learned the lesson. I won the results, right? And that's why when in the beginning of the interview, you asked me about storytelling. If you don't tell your story, the marketplace you create one about you. Is that sometimes weird things happen to our lives, and it could be a bad thing, and it's okay to not be ready. I feel it's not like something bad happened, you should broadcast the world. I don't think it doesn't work like that. What I do feel is that when I was able to find meaning and process and be empowered by the experience, I look at the experience like, you know what? I can use this piece, this story specifically, to tell people, hey, you know what? If you're going to speak, you're going to make mistakes. You are. It's okay though. Right? It's okay. It's okay. So that's one of my favorite stories that I like to share. So thanks for the opportunity.
I think a lot of times, when people are influencing corporations and influencing, these Fortune 500 companies and so on, I think a lot of times we do forget the human aspect. And I was going to share one story with you as well. It just happened to me, and I think you'll enjoy it, especially where you come from and how you do your life. But I had a lady come in to see me. She had 3 kids. They're running all around the office. All hell's broke loose. I don't really know any of her story other than what I was personally treating her for. And she comes in and she sits on the table, and she's crying, and she says, not only did this accident injure my body, but it injured my home. And I thought for a second, okay, I'm not real sure what that means. And I think when you do influence stuff or you do storytelling, you're always listening for the story, right? And so I said, I guess I don't understand. And she said, well, I had a trailer and I had a truck. And she goes, we were homeless, and the person that hit our vehicle hit the trailer as well and totaled it. Then she said that she was literally living in a car, and it was a Honda Accord, 3 kids and her, and they live in the car. And she said, I used to have a meth problem, and my parents shunned me, and they don't have anything to do with me, so they can't help out, or won't help out, if you will. And so I told her, I go, you need to take a step, take action, just like what you talked about, right? And I said, you need to go to a church, start there. There's going to be somebody that's going to help you there. So I sent her to 2 churches that I knew and just said, go there. And she did. And they got her a trailer the next day. They're letting her live in the parking lot for now. Somebody raised enough money to get her a new truck. But the fact that she was at the bottom, took that action, she now is living in it is still a pull trailer behind a vehicle, but her kids get to run around and stuff. But that's not the part of the story that got me. It's when she left there, and after she had told me that, I'd had one of my staff members come over, and she says, oh my God, these kids, when they come in here, they take out all the toys. It's all over the place. People are walking around, and it drives me crazy. I said, you know what? Maybe think of it this way. That might be the best, most fun they've had all day. And the reason that she said that is because she didn't know the whole story. But when I told her the story, everything changed. And the second time when the kids came in, she's out there helping them color. There's shit all over the floor. And I don't like that. I like a really super clean office and everything organized. But in that moment, we let them do whatever the hell they want because it might be that only moment in their life. They may tell that story when they're 18. I used to go to this doctor's office and they let me play with toys, right?
Man, I have chills right now. That's beautiful.
Well, it's every day. This is why I do what I do, and I know it's why you do what you do. And so I want to kind of leave this podcast with this. Everybody has a story. And everybody has to tell that story in a certain way, and it has to be authentic, and it has to be who they really are. And so I'm going to ask you again, do you believe that the most important thing in influence, in becoming better, is it telling your own story, or is it also telling your story while listening to people of influence like the Tony Robbins, the Roberto Monacos, the people who have actually done something with some gray hair? Do you believe that is crucially important?
100%. I do feel, one, that what people think get confused, you're not telling your story for you. You're telling a story for your audience. Right? Storytelling is about them. It's not about you, your ego, look at me. It's about your audience. Number two, we always want to find the mentors, the coaches, the gray hair that can help you in your journey. I have had several mentors, Tony Robbins, Dr. Kevin Hogan. Still have a lot of mentors who have impacted me, and still looking for mentors that I get inspired by, for sure. 100%. One of the things, Dr. Mitch, that I want to drive the point home here, and you're an amazing doctor, very successful doctor, and you teach that health is not an outside-in game. It's not taking a pill. Health is an inside-out game. It's how your body functions. So that's one of your core principles that you teach. Health starts inside out. And communication, guess what? Just like your health principles that you teach, is not outside-in game, is an inside-out game. Because a lot of people, they're trying to build a business, do a presentation, and they always go externally. I'm going to read this book and talk about it. I'm going to do this, talk about it. Instead of going internally and ask, what's the stories, experiences that I have that can relate to this situation, this person, this audience, this point that I make. And when you change, just like in health, when you change the paradigm outside in, the pill that you take or medication, to inside out, right? Allow my body to function better, to express better. The same thing, communication, when in terms of like, I have a presentation, I have a talk, I have a podcast, I have a one-on-one communication. If I go inside out, meaning what kind of stories, experience I have that I can communicate to shape this conversation, to influence, right? It's so much power. You talk about transforming your lives, that's what it is. If you are alive, if you're doing any kind of if you talk to humans, guess what? You're going to be more effective talking to humans if we embrace and incorporate storytelling.
No, I agree 100%. And I knew I wanted to take this podcast in a little bit different way, because I know people are going to look you up now and they're going to see this high energy, high motivation guy and so on and so forth. I thank you for being vulnerable today. I wanted to take it down this way just specifically because, again, you know, it's hard to build a context sometimes when you're doing these podcasts, but you're as big as it gets. I do want you to tell us right now so that our listeners can get a hold of you. But tell us how people can see you, how they can become familiar with you and in touch with you, and hire your services for their companies.
Yeah, just go to InflenceOlogy. Is the word InflenceOlogy, OLOGY, or I am every single social media platform. If you type it up, Roberto Monaco, you're gonna find me. And my thing that I'm super excited about, which I really get excited about, I like the way success looks like to me when I help people is one of my clients, they go out there and they tell their stories, they do talks, they record videos, and they feel like they not only they get a better results, their business, but they feel like they're authentically, they are creating a bigger influence in the marketplace. That's what I love about what we do. So just check me out, InflenceOlogy.com.
Roberto, thank you so much, man. Let's stay in touch. Let's do all the work together. Let's just do everything that we can do to maybe make a difference in this world.
Thanks so much. God bless you, brother. God bless your audience. Don't speak to inform, speak to transform. And I see you very soon.
Man, that's awesome. Love you, brother.
Love you, buddy.
All right,
Consider
bye-bye.
virtual hug here.
That's right.